So it's you are in command.
That's right.
Well, I do like being in command. That is nice. But I think when I first set this up, I gave you guys, there's like different, what do they call them? Permission levels.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure like you guys have everything except, I don't know, oversight of it, or you were supposed to at least. So that's why I'm surprised you can't record.
I have like 2 toggles: echo cancellation and I can't even check visual effects. So if we did have it, we don't. But anyway, how's it going, guys? Yeah.
Saquon Barkley's a Super Bowl champion.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
And finished 3rd in the MVP. Which, you know what might be interesting for us, non-football people to talk about? Baseball actually did something right. They created the Cy Young Award and separated it from the MVP award. And, like, shouldn't the NFL at this point create a quarterback award and, let the MVP be open up to any other position? Like, when is it? Yeah, like, when is a non-quarterback... When was the last time a non-quarterback won the MVP in the NFL?
Derrick Henry?
Well, it does seem like the way the current game is, like it's going to be a quarterback so often from now on, unless they really change the rules, that it would be kind of interesting.
It's the same thing with the Heisman, in college. Like, it's mostly the college quarterbacks who are, thanks, Mama.
Adrian Peterson in 2012.
AP in 2012, yeah. Darn, you just beat me. Toddy?
And
Hi, Toddy. Bye, Toddy.
Bye, Toddy. And then you have to go back to LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006. So since 2006, there have been 2 running backs. Everybody else has been a quarterback.
Who was the other? Was it Henry?
No, AP.
AP.
Oh, AP. Oh, yeah, of course. Can't forget that season. Yeah.
And then Sean Alexander in 2005. And then if you go back a few more years, it's all quarterbacks until Marshall Faulk in 2000. So really, in the 21st century, 3 running backs, if you include 2000, everything else quarterbacks. So
well, remember though, also in the majors, you can win both Cy Young and MVP.
Right.
So if you split the quarterback off, could they win both? Like,
no, I would say you give the quarterback its own thing, and the MVP. Like I know it would drive people nuts because they'd be like, well, that devalues the MVP if the quarterback can't compete for it. But I'm like, well, the quarterback gets their own special award.
Yeah, but no, I don't want them to do that because they're going to name it like the Brady Award or something, and fuck that guy.
Probably. Yeah.
You mean not the Aaron Rodgers Award?
I mean, he has won it more times than Brady, but not as many times as Peyton. So.
Did you guys? Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
I was gonna say maybe they could pick an old time, like I don't know, Marino or somebody who's...
or shape it like a giant phallus.
Yeah.
Bart Starr, Johnny Unitas.
There you go, Johnny Unitas, somebody that's universally loved. That the award can be named the Johnny Unitas Excellence Award or something. I don't know, and just fucking like let the other positions. Because like even it's amazing that even a wide receiver. I mean, there have to have been some amazing wide receiver seasons, in the 21st century, right? With all the Randy Moss 2007 season with the Patriots, that one comes to mind. Like
or like who Justin Jefferson or whatever, wasn't he having a historic year a couple years ago?
Yeah, exactly.
Megatron.
So, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. All those bad Lions teams, and he was amazing. So. I don't know. I obviously, as you guys know, my NFL interest has waned, and I don't really have a stake in this at all. But if I could have gotten Saquon Barkley an MVP award, that would have been nice. But alas, this is how it is.
Right. So I was going to ask, did you guys? I watched like most of the Super Bowl. And man, people were like really shitting on Tom Brady now, as a commentator and talking about how he's just horrible. He's the worst of all time. Blah 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 blah. Now, I want to see what you guys think.
Huh? I can't believe they were saying he was the worst of all
Well,
time.
I don't know if anybody said that specifically, right? But that was just like that was the sentiment I was getting from what I saw, right? And Joe Paz being one of them, Kyle. I mean, I'm sure you read the piece. And now for me, maybe I'm spoiled by bad broadcasting in baseball because for me, he seemed perfectly fine. Like for me, Tim McCarver and Joe Morgan are like orders of magnitude worse. So I was curious if you guys watched much of the Super Bowl, and if so, if you had a thought on that.
I mean, after the, I kind of stopped paying attention after the 45-yard touchdown pass immediately following the turnover. I was like, all right, they're cooked. This is done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only watched through halftime.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have slightly different opinions on announcers than you guys. I despise Romo. I despise Smoltz. I don't know. I thought he was stumbling over a lot of things. I don't know. I wasn't particularly enjoying him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that I agree with both of you, but I think the anger comes from the fact that Greg Olson, who is like universally respected as one of the best color commentators in the game, got demoted in favor of Brady, who had zero experience, and then he puts on a relatively flat performance. And it's like, well, you guys have Greg Olson. Why is Tom Brady getting all this love? So
and for like $375 million or whatever, right?
Right, yeah, and the money on top of it, but
and he's an owner, so he's supposed to have limited exposure to these things anyway.
Right.
That's all fair. Sports are headed in a very bad direction, from the conflict of interest with all these different players owning franchises and things like that, and then the gambling, which we can talk about. Remember, I sent you guys the screenshot of the umpire who got suspended from Major League Baseball, and it was because his friend bet on Major League Baseball, and there's a guy named Shohei Ohtani who had an alleged friend bet on baseball, and Shohei Ohtani did not get suspended. So it's like, there's some dark stuff, and allegedly Molly Knight is actually working on a report about this, and she says it's really bad already. And she's going to be dropping that, I think, like in the next month or so. So if you subscribe to her Substack called The Long Game, off the top of my head, right?
Yeah,
Ethan?
The Long Game. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She just, in her last column, she mentioned it because she was at the what do you call them, court proceedings.
That's right. Yeah, in Santa Monica or wherever it was.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and so she was like, I'm working on a deeper dive. It's bad already. It's only going to get worse. Like, I don't even know what to think of it all. I know I took us totally off track, but
well, I was going to say, before we get deep into this, do we want to talk about our beer real quick?
I was going to ask you what's in that mug of yours, Ethan. I saw Colin's beer already.
Yeah. Okay. So,
wait, did you know what it is just by how it looks?
You had the can up briefly. That's a milkshake IPA, but also, it's very cloudy.
Yeah.
So, growing up, back when Colin was just a humble Liverpudlian like the rest of us, and he did not put on any affectations, we all pronounced his name Cerniglia. Now, I don't know what Colin is currently pronouncing his last name as. What are you doing these days? Cernelia?
Yes.
So anyways, all right, we'll use the current pronunciation. I have a Colin Cernelia special tonight. One that Kyle sent me in a little box of beer a couple of months ago. This is out of Divine Barrel Brewing in Charlotte, and this is Defensive Pancake, which is a pretty awesome name. And it's a porter with maple syrup and vanilla, which is nice because I mentioned on the pod recently that I had some dark beers at a brewery recently for the first time in ages and really enjoyed them. And this one's nice. It's pretty on the sweet side for me. I don't think I'd be able to drink it too often. But it's nice. It's not like overly sweet, and it's got, man, I feel like such a snob. I think we've talked about this before. When we talk about mouthfeel, Matt, is there a less snobby way that we can talk about mouthfeel? It's just a terrible fucking term.
You could say it coats the tongue well. I'm not sure.
Because, like, you know, with dark beers especially, for me at least, like when I'm having a porter or a stout, like that's where, at least for me, mouthfeel is like really important. Like I love it when it has a little bit more thickness, a little bit more creaminess. I don't like a dark beer that's like too thin and watery. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like really a pretty big part of the equation with these beers. But God, I feel like such an asshole being like, you know, it's got a pretty good mouthfeel. Like it's the fucking worst. So, but it's pretty nice. So thank you to Signore Cernilia.
Now, Colin, is that the key lime pie or the double vanilla?
Galaxy.
Galaxy. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. DDH Galaxy double milkshake IPA from Tired Hands. What is the ABV on this? Where would one find that on this can?
Let's see. Might not be on the can.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced that before.
Let's see. DDH Galaxy milkshake.
I just checked it in. I can look there too. Anyway,
9%.
What was it?
9%.
Ooh,
9%. Okay,
that's a big one.
Okay. I wanted to ask you guys. I don't know how well you can see it. You see, there's something at the bottom there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have been doing this for the longest time, but it really has kicked up like over the last year or so, where I put gummies in my beer, and it's like, you know, having a nice little treat when the beer is done. You get a beer soaked gummy afterward. I think we had started doing it like Swedish Fish and mimosas was, you know, the first time I ever did. But now it's like any gummy that I have around the house, I just throw it in the beer. And I don't know if you guys are like horrified by that because of your sophisticated drinking habits, but
with the right beer, I think it would be delicious.
Yeah. Just don't put like, you know, fruit snacks in defensive pancakes, because unless it's a blueberry fruit snack, it's going to be gross, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Like I wouldn't do that to like a Casey or a Treehouse, but for a lot of beers, like it sounds like it would be really tasty. Yeah.
Well, I'll let you know how it is when I get to it.
Nice. Matt, what do you got?
So this is one I'd been sitting on for a while, and I actually at one point forgot I had it, and it was like pushed all the way back on the shelf, on my lowest shelf. So there's a brewery out of, I guess they're on the outskirts of Austin, called Jester King.
Oh yeah,
that is really well known for their sours.
Yeah, I've had Jester King before. Yeah,
they brew really good clean beers too, but they're really, really known for their sour beers. Everything has got some sort of wild culture in it. And there's a couple that they do that they're really, really not well known for. Like, right, they do a raspberry sour called Atrial Rubicite, but they make a sherry barrel age, or they did at least once, that people went absolutely bonkers over. That people started referring to as Shatrial, sherry barrel atrial. They do it's either like an apricot or a peach beer. I think it's apricot, called Fentau. That's amazing. What else? I mean, they've got a really good stable of like all sorts of traditional styles of sour beers and a lot of fruited sour beers. They do a spontaneously fermented series, which is basically like American Lambics.
I had one of those.
Spawns. Yeah, yep. They're like American Lambics. They're really good.
This is really nice.
One. It's a blackberry beer called Nocturne Chrysalis, but it's aged. It's a special version aged in gin barrels, and
that sounds good.
It is phenomenal. And I was so this is from March of 2021, so it's almost 4 years old. They have very unique bottles too, which I like. But yeah, this is only the second time they made it, and I am very, very, very happy with this. Marion blackberries from Oregon, added to a barrel-aged wild beer, re-fermented in old Tom gin barrels from Ransom Spirits.
Damn.
So that's why when you saw earlier before we started the podcast and I opened it, it was naturally re-fermented, so it had a little bit of action in there. So it started bubbling over the top, and I had to quickly put my head or my mouth over the top. And it wasn't a lot. It didn't. It wasn't infected. It just had a little bit of yeast or a little bit of action going on in there. But
that's what she said.
This is it's amazing. It's really good. It's one. If I wasn't trying to get through my collection so quickly before I moved, I would have loved to share with you, Ethan. I think you guys would really like this. So
Yeah. Now, Matt, when you say phenomenal, what's that going to translate to in terms of your score on Untapped? I'm curious.
4.5.
4.5. Okay, I was wondering if it could be the ultra rare 4.75, possibly. But
no, there are a couple sours I like a little bit more that I think would rank there.
Yes.
It'd be close, but I'm thinking 4.5.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome.
Also, Matt, isn't that the first beer in like 3 episodes that you've actually liked? Haven't you been on a bad streak?
I think so. I think there was at least. Oh yeah, that's right. I pulled out a couple beers that had turned.
Yeah, right.
Like
that's right.
the Number Crunch, the chocolate beer that was pretty bad from fundamental observation. Yeah. No, this is great, and you expect sours to have a longer shelf life. There's not hop second oxidized in there. There's not adjuncts, right? It's just wild fermented beer with some fruit.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, it was either between this or my bottle of that Zen, the 3 Fountain Zen, Ethan. And I chose
the one
this,
we talked about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm trying to drink through as much of my cellar as I can before we move. So I'm marching through it right now. I'm almost through all my Jackie O's.
If I still lived in DC, I'd just drive up a couple hours on a Saturday or something, and we could plow through a bunch of those, But
we'd have a before I move share, and we'd go. Especially since I've got like I drink them in the reverse order of how I go down there and I stare at them all and I go, what do I care about the least? And that's what I drink. That's how I determine what I want to drink. So I drink them in reverse order. So I'm down to a couple really the 2 Floodland sours and the Zen and the 4 Cantillon bottles, like
special ones.
So I'm down to my top tier, my big home run hitters. Same with the stouts. I've got some really good stouts. Now where I'm mixing it up is I've got a bunch of meads. And I don't know if you guys have had mead before, but it's incredibly, incredibly, incredibly sweet. You're supposed to drink it in a little tiny aperitif glass. And so usually Sam will take a sip, but I've been only making it halfway through the bottles of mead before I just had to dump them out because it's just syrup.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some really good ones, but I can't drink the whole bottle. And then they're like 14%, sugar syrup. So
it's a real shame because
bottles too.
Yeah.
They're small. They're 375, so they're they're 12 and a half ounce bottles. And I even have a couple 6 ounce bottles of really special ones. Like those I'll finish because those are it's probably actually a very, very rare 5.0. The best thing I've ever drank.
Those kind of thing. Oh wow.
It's called Blue Suede Shoes. It's a blueberry cashew mead. Oh my god!
Oh, I feel like you've mentioned this before.
Oh my god! Yeah, I've got a tiny little bottle of it that I'm waiting to try.
Yeah, that's like one of those things. What was I? Gosh, I'm sorry. This is gonna go dark. I don't mean to go dark, but there was a thing about. I think it was when the LA wildfires were happening, where somebody wrote something about if your neighborhood is burning down from a wildfire and you have to just take your most valuable things that you can fit in your car or something as you're trying to escape out of your house. What are you going to take? And I think this Blue Suede Shoes sounds like, it would be up there.
It's up there, but I mean, that could burn before some other things, but
Yeah. Oh my God. It has a 4.86 on Untapped on 2.8 thousand reviews, 2,800 reviews, and it has a 486. That's unheard of.
Yes.
That's fucking insane.
I
mean, what's the lowest rating then?
I mean, there's probably some weirdos in there that rated low.
Oh, I'm sure there's some people who
not
gave it a
worth the
bad
hype.
score.
But to me, it's one of the few things. Now, again, you can't have like you have an ounce at a time, right? Like, it's made to be like a dessert. It's like, it's one of those things you could pour it over ice cream and it'd be amazing.
Right.
Like an ice wine. But yeah, it's
Three people,
really good.
3 people gave it a 0.25.
What?
What were their comments? Did they
let me see if I can. It won't let me click to them. I'm on this section where you can just look at it by ratings on this curve, and it tells you like how many ratings of each number, but it won't let me actually click in because I'm like desperate to know.
They should take those off.
It's hilarious. I really want to know. I suspect that's the kind of. Oh, here's a 2. Somebody gave it a 2 just a few days ago. I suspect that's the kind of thing where it's like if you had given me a Casey 10 years ago, right? Or if you had given me an other half 15 years ago, I just was not ready for that. Palate-wise, I just did not have like the right kind of experience or anything, and I would have just been like, ugh, And I wonder if there's some of that going on with like a low rating on a beer like this.
Well, so like I'm looking at like most people that I'm friends with that have tried it have all given it 5s or 4.75s, but there's one guy who gave it a 3.75. But out of everyone in this list, he's probably had it the most. He's actually the guy that gave me my first bottle of Blue Suede Shoes back in the day.
Interesting.
And so he's like, I've had this too many times. I'm now calling it Shoeless Blue, and he's saying I don't taste the cashews anymore. It's not close to what it used to be. So
interesting. Okay.
But yeah, that's a good story. We were at Dark Lord Day, and I was there with my brother, and we got our special like variant bottles from Dark Lord. And this guy he was very nice, but he's very forward. He's part of our group that we were sharing, and he wanted me or my brother to crack open the bottle and share it with everyone. And it was the French Vanilla Militia, which was like a very hard to get variant of Dark Lord. And so my brother kind of felt pressured and opened it. And I have a couple other beer friends, the ones that invited us there, that kind of pulled this guy aside and was like, hey, like, I hope you realize that was a really big deal to them. That was a bottle that they really, really wanted. And, I know they were happy to share it with you guys, but that meant a lot for him to open that beer for you. And so he felt bad. And 2 weeks later, a box shows at my house, and that just has, like, thanks for sharing the French Vanilla Militia. You said you wanted to try this. I happen to have an extra bottle. My only request is that you enjoy it with people, like enjoy it with friends, and don't sell it or trade it. And I said, oh my God, this is amazing. So
yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Those are the good stories, right? Both for my beer friend who was kind of sticking up for my brother, and also for the guy who maybe has had these beers a million times and wanted to try it, versus my brother who had never had that beer before. And feeling bad that he kind of pressured us into that, but yeah. Anyway, I digress. Dark Lord Day's fun. Beer.
Very cool.
We didn't really have a lot of topics tonight, right? I got one. More of a Reader's Digest thing. So I'm listening to a podcast called 1 Year. And they like pick a year and highlight like 6 or 7 crucial events from that year. And
so this is the one that you got the same podcast when you were telling us about the first play-by-play or color commentator. Yeah.
Yes. So
okay.
This one was 1 year, 1986, and it highlighted a time when at least some athletes were willing to be more politically active for good reasons, and for like. Compared to now where it's the stay in your lane, shut up and dribble bullshit, like you see some, you see Kaepernick out there, you see there are a lot of politically active athletes, but I didn't think about that in the 80s. And they actually talked about a story of Isaiah Thomas. In 1986, Isaiah comes from rough neighborhoods of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
He's seen a lot of the violence that was happening in the 70s and 80s in the inner cities. And so in 1986, he tried, and it sounds like it kind of failed, pretty spectacularly, but he tried something called No Crime Day. And he really pushed throughout the city of Detroit, like, a message of positivity and a message of let's work towards being better. Let's have some personal accountability. Let's have No Crime Day. And they have a big rally. They had 15,000 people at a rally and a parade. They had a bunch of supporting athletes. Magic Johnson pitched in. A couple other athletes pitched in. And it still didn't work, right? They still highlighted that there was 4 murders in Detroit that day. And so by the time that he tried again the following year, it was just like a TV commercial, basically like a televised meeting with some high schoolers, and then it ceased to exist 2 years after that. And in fact, apparently, and this was before us, but it became like a punching bag. It became like people in other cities were selling T-shirts that said No Crime Day on them, and they had like guns and weed on them. And it's unfortunate because if you talk to him, you really get a sense, at least I felt, that he wasn't doing that for his brand. He was doing it because he genuinely cared about the city. And I felt like it was a fairly bold and courageous stance for an athlete to take, especially at a time when crime was so rampant. And it's sad to see kind of the outcome of it, and how he's still ridiculed to this day about it, and how it tarnished his brand a lot. And now again, Slate being a good kind of making sure they check all the boxes podcast. The Slate guys also called out, like, he's done his own he's responsible for his own tarnishing of his reputation as well. And they brought up the sexual assault allegations or sexual harassment allegations to the Knicks. So they cover all the bases, but for that 1 year, it was an interesting episode. I'm surprised I'd never heard of it before, actually. And I wish more athletes would try and take that positive approach. And I know, right, like Colin, you probably know more too. Like LeBron does public and non-public things, right? Like LeBron had the I Promise Foundation out of Akron, where if you met all the requirements, he was paying for your college, right? That's huge. It was, I mean, the amount of money he's pumped into the I Promise school in Akron is nuts. You've got, obviously, like I said, Kaepernick and the stance he took, that is still getting punished for to this day. You've got a lot of athletes with their own foundations, but this was a very, very public putting himself out there that I really actually admired.
Yeah, I think in general, I feel like at least athletes do a good job of supporting their communities, giving back, different initiatives, like you talked about, with whether it's LeBron or the Turn 2 Foundation for Jeter, or I mean, even coaches like Tom Coughlin had one, or has one maybe still. I don't know. Joe Torre still has one, and things like that. But it's the more sensitive topics. It's the more systematic issues that deter, I think, a lot of players or a lot of athletes.
Who's gonna fault you for like going to visit cancer kids in the hospital, right? Like, JJ Watt raising boatloads of money for hurricane relief was phenomenal and awe-inspiring, but like everyone's gonna be like that. That's just support, not social change, right?
Yeah, and it's even more discouraging, I think, when you take Kaepernick, for example, who you mentioned, and how long has that been? Like a decade now, right?
Yeah.
At least. And think about it in the terms of Curt Flood, right? When he took that stance for the union and to help Major League Baseball players make more money. Yeah, he got hurt, but the change was so swift that it was like worth it for other players to step up throughout the years. That's why they had so many strikes, in the years between 71 or whenever and 94. And then you compare that to what's happened with Kaepernick. Like, I don't fault anybody for saying, like, I don't want to put my career in jeopardy because this is what's going to happen. I'm going to get outcasted no matter what my intentions are, how good of a public speaker I am, how well I represent my community. It seems like it's a no-win situation, especially if you're a person of color. And ultimately, that's who needs to, step up and do it. And it's like, why would you want the punishment that Kaepernick got? It's not worth it. I feel like.
And I mean, I understand that he ultimately had to be looking out for his best interests at some point as well, and he ended up settling. But I really wished, I was really hoping he could have held out, and they would have gone, the basically the supporting evidence for the collusion case that they settled. I really, really wish we could have seen what was going on there. I hate that people seem to forget with that whole thing, right? Like, wasn't Kaepernick's long snapper a vet? A veteran or his long snappers. Basically, there was someone on the on the 49ers who was a veteran who Kaepernick went to and said, like, I want to make this point. Yeah. What do you think the most respectful way to do it is? And it was actually this white military veteran who said, don't sit, take a knee. And so, he was doing it with the support of the teammates who were in the armed services, and yet it's still, failed spectac. That's more consideration than I think he should have given it. But he still was trying to do it in a way that would be respectful but impactful, and he got shit on.
Well, it's one of those things where we really need, I think, like white solidarity in this kind of a thing. Like, imagine if Tom Brady or Peyton Manning had also decided to like start taking a knee. Like the NFL would not have colluded to keep them out of the game, and that would have made a huge point. Now, granted, Brady and Manning, they maybe don't even believe in it, right? I think Brady is kind of chummy with Trump, right? So who knows what he believes? And they might not agree with it politically at all. And even if they do, they probably made a calculation that like too much of the country would hate them, and it would like be too damaging on their life. And I get that, but like, it is kind of one of the situations where, because Kyle mentioned like this is inordinately this kind of thing harming people of color and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, they're the ones who need to fight for it. But also like, this is also the type of place where like white people need to use that privilege we keep hearing so much about these last several years. Like, this is the type of situation where you should use it, where you could use it effectively, I think. And so it's a shame that we didn't get that. It's a shame, that Kaepernick was just kind of left out there to sort of rot,
And I mean, literally, has it been 10 years at least, right?
I think it was 8, right? I feel like it was right around Trump's first year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 2016-ish.
Okay, so coming on a decade, I just find it hard to believe that we could go another decade and say like there was something happening under the surface that we didn't know about that made it worth it all along. Like, I think this is like one of those situations where Kaepernick did what he did, and it's a moot point now. Like, it did not do what it was intended to do, and there's just not like there's nothing to build off,
Yeah.
And that, on top of what I was saying earlier, like, who wants to risk all that money and everything? Like, you're basically starting from scratch again without having the support. I don't even know how you would gather the support of white people these days to do something like that. Like, and I feel like it would have to come from a sport like football, right? Like, they could do this in baseball, but would it make the ripple effect, or would it have the ripple effect that it would if it was somebody in football? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't even really think of who. I mean, Aaron Judge is one of the faces of baseball, and I can't even fathom him having the same impact as what Kaepernick did, albeit it was a negative impact.
Yeah. Well, baseball is so much less popular
in the eyes of white people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah. What if Shohei did it?
I think baseball. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, baseball is still just not popular enough for it to make as much of a wave as like Kaepernick in the NFL and stuff. But globally speaking, I think Shohei is probably, when you take into account like Asia, Shohei might be the baseball player with the largest international kind of reach and presence. So it's kind of interesting in that, in that sense.
But he still has a white complexion. Like there's still,
it's different.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, somebody with like Ronald Acuna Jr., I mean, he's been injured too much. He doesn't have the same kind of reputation and whatever. But like, he's dark. Like if he did something, that would be interesting to kind of see the reaction.
Has he been injured too much? Because Ohtani's been injured a whole lot.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Let's compare. Let's look and see because Ohtani has had his injuries, but like Acuna missed all of last season, and didn't he miss a whole bunch of a season in the last couple of years as well?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Ohtani missed. He had his first Tommy John.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, fair enough. Let's look. That's a good point.
Like you're trying to whitewash me right now.
Okay, so Acuna made his debut in 2018. He played 111 games.
Same year, right?
Yeah, same year. So he's played, same year. So he's played 722 games in his career. Matt, you didn't already look it up, did you?
No.
Okay. And Ohtani has played 860 games. So Ohtani has basically one full season more. Okay. So it's close, to be fair, but that's a decent enough of a gap, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just wondering if we were literally already doing it like subconsciously, like saying because Ohtani's white.
Yeah. White. Well, no, and in fact, I'm looking at it now. Like since 2021, he's played at least 150 games every year except for 23, when he played 135 games. And he was hurt for a bit in 23, but still played 135 games.
Ohtani.
So, Ohtani. Yeah, so he's actually, the last few years has been really good as far as that goes. Yeah. Whereas if you look at Acuna, it's rough since 21. He only has basically what we would consider one full season. Yeah, which was the amazing 40-70 year. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Other earth-shattering news in baseball today. Devin Williams showed up to Yankees camp with his beard. Ooh!
Can we finally? I feel like we talk about this every goddamn year, and I'm just going to say it again. Everybody knows where I stand. When the fuck are the Yankees as an organization going to get rid of that stupid fucking rule? George Steinbrenner has been dead since when, Colin? When did Steinbrenner die? Like 2010?
Yes.
Like
July of 2010.
Like, what the fuck? We just look like old, uptight, fucking stick-in-the-ass douchebags. Like, it is terrible. It is one of the worst rules in sports. The Yankees, like, it makes me want to hate the Yankees, the fact that is, like, an organizational rule still to this point.
The fact that he walked down the tunnel with a beard, why is that news? Like...
It's just so stupid. And the fact that like Verdugo had to shave everything and he was like legitimately uncomfortable, and it might have contributed to the fact that he had a career worst year last year. You never know. Like, it's just so fucking stupid. Like, let the guys be what they want to be.
No, the chains are like Dungeons and Dragons runes that multiply his baseball abilities. So like, without all of his chains, he had no abilities. So.
Exactly. That's right. His power got sapped.
His chain, like, I guess I'm going to be good on defense tonight. I'll wear my defense chain. Well, that means I'm going to strike out 17 times.
God, I just remember that it was the Sunday before the All-Star game, and they had come back. They were in Baltimore, and Volpe made an error. Defensive miscues. Who would have thought that would have come back to haunt them?
Yeah.
Volpe makes an error on the ground ball that would have ended the game. And the next play is this. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I'd have to look it up, but it was a routine fly ball. Like the out expectancy was really high, and Verdugo looked like he had never played the outfield ever. tripped and fell. The ball fell down, and Baltimore won the game and on a walk-off. And I was just like, what is this? Like,
That's like the stories that Joe Paz tells of like the early 2000s Royals, you know?
Yeah.
Gosh, Verdugo is still a free agent, by the way.
Yeah. And so is Alex Bregman.
And Bregman, yeah. Bregman is a little more surprising than Verdugo.
Do you guys? All right, I'm gonna say something so that you two can debate while I look up the catch expectancy on this fly ball. I have thought this for a long time, and I still feel this way. If Bregman signs with the Tigers, I feel like they're the favorite in the American League, like given what has happened everywhere else. What do you guys think?
The favorite in the American League. Okay, so my gut reaction. I need to look up the Tigers roster, but my gut reaction is still based on just overall talent. Even if I'm worried about the pitching staff, the Orioles. And I have to say, we haven't talked about this. Joe Paz has been writing about this. It's so infuriating as a baseball fan to see how little the Orioles have done these last couple off seasons. Well, I guess they got Burns last off season, but how little they've done this off season. Now their pitching staff, like they don't have Tarek Skubal, which the Tigers have, right? And just having Skubal, having the person who was the best pitcher in the world last year, assuming he's top 5 again, that's already a huge thing for the Tigers, right? That's a big deal.
And
getting Flaherty back. So they have a really solid number 2 as well. But the Orioles are still really loaded, at least on offense. And they just have so much talent. So my thought is still that the Orioles would be the favorite because the Tigers, offensively speaking, I don't know. I mean, yeah, how far can Skubal and Flaherty get you? I don't know that Bregman is going to be that much of a force. So for me, it's still the Orioles probably. But if the Tigers do sign Bregman, and if Spencer Torkelson can become what they always hoped he would be, and who else do they have who's like a young high draft pick who has a lot of talent, like Riley Green or something? If any of those guys can kind of take that leap to the next level, then yeah, Kyle, I think you got something on your hands there. But my gut reaction is that just based on how the rosters look now in February, just in terms of overall talent, the Orioles are still who comes to my mind. But Matt, what do you
think the Orioles are currently the favorite in the American League?
I don't know that anybody has. I mean, I'm worried about their pitching, but I don't know who has like more overall talent. Like, if all of those offensive guys perform up to their capabilities, I mean, they would be like the fucking mid-late 90s Indians. I mean, they've got like that kind of offensive capability just transposed to 2024. I mean, Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, all those other Jackson Holliday lookalikes who have also been like top draft picks and top prospects. I mean, if those guys all like developed at the right time, and granted, you're asking for a lot here, but if those guys all like really developed and again took a big leap forward, the offensive potential of that team, I think, is like pretty wild. It could be insane.
Okay.
They also have Gary Sanchez as a catcher.
Who, the Orioles?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they have enough offensive. Yeah, they got enough talent. Who cares?
I'm still not counting out the team that has 4 MVPs on it.
Who would that be? Our team?
Yes.
Do we have 4 MVPs?
Yeah.
Judge, G,
Goldie.
Belly. Oh, and Goldie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes about the Yankees this year, but we'll talk about that more probably when the season's about to start. But go ahead, Matt.
Why don't you have high hopes?
Because I mean, fucking Cody Bellinger, he's not the 2019 version of himself. That was some spiked ball 22-year-old adrenaline bullshit. Like, I think he's an okay player, probably at best. Paul Goldschmidt is old and probably washed up. We always get these fucking aging superstars. Judge is great, but he's not going to have the protection of Soto this year. Or, like, and Volpe, I don't know if Volpe is ever going to be the bat that we were hoping he was going to be. I think he's going to be solid. But yeah, I don't have a lot of hope for this. I think it's going to be okay. I don't expect us to have a losing record. I would say 86 to 90 wins is what I would guess.
No. So we've upgraded over Verdugo. Like if you look at Belly versus Verdugo,
that's an upgrade, sure.
Goldschmidt over whatever the fuck we had at first base is an upgrade.
Rizzo, it should be an upgrade. Yeah,
a full season of Jazz at second base is going to be better than whatever the fuck Glaber decided he was going to do, especially since he was non-existent for the.
Well, yeah, Glaber was horrible for the first half.
Glaber's part of my Tigers are going to be good.
No,
I think he'll have a bounce back.
No, he's playing in. He's half his games are going to be in fucking Comerica Park.
He doesn't hit home runs. He just
he can hit doubles.
No, yeah. he's not. I don't think he's going to do well there because he doesn't run either. Right? He is
lazy. Slow and he's lazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, third base question mark. Wells going to improve behind the plate with more time. The staff is better. Pitching staff is better. So
Max Fried. I'm not sold on Max Fried being great or healthy, and I'm definitely not sold on Carlos Rodon. I'm sold on Cole. That's about it.
And Schmidt and Heel.
I'm just not sold on them.
Remember how many starts we gave Stroman last year, right? We had Cody Poteet starting last year, right? We've got 6 good arms. So third base is a question mark, and we don't have Soto. So Hasson is going to be a big, question mark. Can he produce or not? But I think I agree with most of the pundits. Hasson. Jason Dominguez.
Oh, I was so confused.
Isn't that how they pronounce his name? Didn't Booney say they call him Hasson?
Do they? I mean, his name is just actually Jason, right?
No, Jasson.
Yeah, but it's just Jason. Even though he's like Dominican, I think it's just Jason. Maybe they call him Hasson as a joke. I think it's just Jason. And then the second S was for a specific reason. They talked about it on a broadcast last year, but I can't remember why. But his dad gave him the second S for some reason. I can't remember.
Now I got to look it up.
Kyle, did you know what he meant by Hasson?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. So it wasn't just me. All right, it makes me feel better.
I thought there was some funny way Booney was pronouncing it. Okay, here I'm gonna look at John Boy really quick. Come on, John Boy.
This is the good podcast shit right here. This is what our listeners want. Hey, Jeremy. Just saying hi in the middle of the show.
Yeah, it's Hasson.
Who
calls him Hasson?
Who does?
Booney.
No one has. This has never come up. This didn't come up once last year on the broadcast or anything.
Hasson. Thank you very much.
This is so confusing.
Take another drink to let that sink in.
This is so confusing. I don't understand. It's got to be a joke. That's not how... Because Michael K takes his pronunciation of players seriously. If the guy's name was Hasson Dominguez, Michael K would do it. It's Jason. I'm telling you, Hasson must be the nickname. Instead of calling him like Mingy, like in the classic baseball fucking player nickname formation, just last name, part of the last name with a Y at the end, they probably decided to call him Hasson.
Anyway,
personally, I like Mingy better.
I think we've upgraded a lot. I think Cash has actually done a fairly good job. I think the bullpen with
Devin Williams,
Weaver, and with Devin Williams, we've got hopefully Loaiza healthy. Right, it sucks that we lost Canely, but he, 17 changeups in a row. They'll catch on eventually.
Yeah.
Right, we've got.
I mean, no, we do have some upgrades, and I do think Cash has done a good job. I'm just not optimistic that any of these guys are going to have that good of a year. That's all.
Yeah.
But this is also, this is natural. This is normal. Colin and I, the couple years we lived together back in the day, we realized that this was the natural way of the universe, right? That I always expected the worst, and Colin had always some optimism, and then usually it was somewhere in the middle. So I think this is kind of the way it's supposed to be. Here, how about this? I'll make I'm going to make a dark horse pick instead of the Orioles, the favorites in the AL this year. Brent Rooker is going to win a unanimous MVP, and the Sacramento Athletics are going to win the pennant.
And Luis Severino is going to have 2 no-hitters.
That's right. And Luis Severino, 2 no-hitters. Exactly. Man. Fucking
we have to spend
sacrilege.
Because if we don't, I'm going to get in trouble. Sacramento Athletics.
Yep. God, fucking
That's
crying.
right.
Okay, Kyle, do you want to talk a little bit about your Tigers thing?
Yeah, and the best I can do, I can't. How do you find catch probability on Baseball Savant? Like they have it defined, but I can't.
I feel like
I
Matt
don't.
would know. I don't know.
I really don't fuck with Baseball Savant very much.
Oh, okay. I've
Well,
messed around a
I
bit,
should.
but not with catch probability so much.
The expected batting average on Mullins' double was 150. So
Oh, wow. And Verdugo just like fell over and missed it?
yeah.
I want to say I remember watching that game, Colin. So that sounds about right.
Let me see if I can find a video. Yeah, here we go. It's right here. Oh.
Sharing it? I don't see anything.
Yeah, I gotta share. Hold on. Let's share. Verdugo falls while trying to make the play. That's the name of this.
Yes, I do remember this. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
my God. I don't remember that. That is so sad.
It's just a routine fly ball.
Wow. And he's supposed to be like really like above average defensively and shit.
Yeah.
Wow. That's bad. I will not miss him this year.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what? Hey, I can be optimistic sometimes because you guys remember Kyle brought this up recently. I think it was Kyle. When was it? About April or May last year, where Verdugo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was about to say. I think you guys are. I think it could be like another Paul O'Neill. I think
Yeah.
he's going to be.
Yeah, it was Matt who brought it up. Okay, yeah, Verdugo had a nice start. He's this line drive hitter. You know, we had these hopes for him, and my goodness, were those hopes dashed.
I want to go on the record. I don't think I ever had those hopes for him.
Really?
Yeah.
I could have sworn you were agreeing with us. All right.
No, I think I dissented.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I am on the record many times as saying DJ LeMahieu is a fucking fluke, and I was right. So I feel good about that.
Poor DJ.
I mean, you know, it is what it is. He's had like 2 good years in his career, just like I said. And at this point, he's 35, right? Or 36. He's our age. Gosh, he's our age. It feels weird to talk shit about somebody our age and say he's too old. He ain't got a chance. But he's too old and he ain't got a chance. So,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, my Tigers thing is just, I feel like they have the right mix of players. Like, the Yankees are too old. The Orioles are too young, and the Tigers they have the young
if
pieces.
They sign Bregman.
Yeah, especially if they sign Bregman. They're even trying to. I mean, I would pick them to win the Central. Yeah, I know the Guardians always pull a rabbit out of their hat, but
yeah,
the Royals are definitely going to be worse this year. They've done almost nothing, just like the Orioles in terms of off-season moves, and they were already really bad offensively last year. And Bobby Witt Jr. had a 10 WAR season, and I just
going to
don't
be
think
hard
he's
to replicate that.
Yeah, going to have another 10 more season. So yeah, I would say right now, and they have love him or hate him for the scandal. AJ Hinch seems to be a pretty good manager,
right?
And figures things out. So yeah, if they bring in Bregman, who hasn't had a losing season, again, all things considered, in his career, and has a couple World Series titles to his name, top 5 or top 2, top 3 MVP finish in 2019. Like, that's the type of leader and bat, that can take you over the top. Put that top on the garbage can.
Matt is smacking a garbage can and staring at the camera. I'll say this. I don't like Bregman because of what Matt is alluding to, but I would be happy for the city of Detroit. And I was really sad when the Lions got beat, after going like 15-2 this year and being so good. Like, I was really sad. And like for the city of Detroit, like I'd be thrilled if the Tigers were really good. That'd be awesome. And you know what? this is one of those things where with baseball, we never can truly understand and quantify this. But Kyle, to your point, like maybe having somebody like Bregman in that clubhouse adds some of that, magical fucking veteran presence that we hear about year after year in baseball, right?
And you got to think Torres is going to be motivated on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, and after, he had wanted to stay with the Yankees and they just had no fucking interest, and Cash made some kind of backhanded comments. Like, you got to imagine he'll be a little motivated. But then again, we've seen him be a kind of a lazy fuck for a long time, so who knows?
I would be happy for the Tigers, specifically for the ghost of Mike Ilitch.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I'd be happy for the city of Detroit too, I guess, a little bit. But, like, just thinking about an owner that's worth emulating, right? Like, both for trying to always get good facilities for his team, for his players, being willing to spend on his team, paying Rosa Parks rent when he found out he didn't like where she was living.
Yep.
Like, and not saying anything. And the fact that it was all built on the back, on the shoulders, on the grease, and the dough, and the hard work of pizza, Little Caesar.
Hell yeah.
That, to me, would be good.
It's the American fucking dream.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, in the American League specifically, maybe the Rangers bounce back.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Astros are obviously fading.
Yep.
The Mariners can't hit.
Yep. Well, they got to do something about that ballpark. It's like the worst for offense in the game by far. Like, they got to do something about that.
Yeah. So there's the West. We had just talked about the Central. And we've pretty much talked about the East. I mean, the Red Sox, I guess,
they'll be fine again, right?
I don't know. I feel like everyone in the East has gotten better to me.
The Blue Jays have certainly not gotten better.
Well, they did get Jimenez, who at least is defensively great.
Mad Max.
Oh, yeah, who maybe has a little bit left in the tank. Who knows? He might not, though.
I don't know. I just, confidence-wise, I mean, for me to say that I would put the Tigers above the Yankees, I mean, I don't know what that says about me and my love for Alex Bregman, but...
And don't count out the Steinbrenner Field Bay Rays.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. That's also depressing.
Yeah, fuck them.
See, I told you guys we should have gone and seen a game at the Trop before its demise.
Before a hurricane destroyed it. Yep.
It's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
National League, I don't have as strong opinions. Although I don't know if you guys saw the Pacoda, isn't it Pacoda, right?
Yeah, the Pacoda projections, yeah.
Yeah, only the Braves and the Dodgers have above a 90% chance to make the postseason. The Braves are at 92, the Dodgers are at 100%. The rest of the league is under 90, and most of them are under 80%. And so, I mean, I can't believe the Braves are 92% in the same division as the Phillies and the Mets. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what that says about them that we're overlooking, but I thought they were better than that.
Who was popping up for the Central? Like, where are the Reds falling out in the Central, the NL Central?
Not good.
They made a handful of moves, right?
I was looking at the Fangraphs projections just yesterday, and I'm pretty sure the Reds were like 17%, somewhere around there.
They did make some move or two. They did that Jonathan India for Brady Quinn, right, from the Royals, which, who knows?
Yeah, they basically just swapped infielders.
Yeah.
I mean, the Reds do have some young guys, but I feel like they're like the Blue Jays of the National League. They didn't pan him out the right way, or
they play in the shoebox too. So
yeah.
I don't know. This feels like a fairly low energy podcast tonight, guys. I don't know what's going on.
I'm kind of sleepy.
Does the podcast have seasonal affective disorder?
I mean,
when there's less baseball to talk.
There's less, and it's been a rough. It's been a rough few weeks in life.
We're in the tweener zone, right? Like we're in that dead zone. Like what's the next major sporting event that comes up? The Daytona 500. Who gives a shit about the Daytona 500? Like
March Madness.
Yeah, like we're in that kind of dead zone, like baseball, but people are just reporting.
Yeah,
I mean, the NBA and the NHL are chugging along, I guess, but go Cavs.
You say go Cavs, Matt?
League?
Yeah, go Cavs.
Well, so we should wrap up soon, but go Cavs. I mean, that's kind of a nice little segue into the thing I texted you guys about that I thought was kind of an interesting topic. About like fandom and stuff. Should I briefly introduce that topic and maybe we dig in?
Yeah.
And then maybe
also, Ethan, the Cavs are fucking owning it. Like,
right, they're like amazing this year, right?
Yeah, and it's they've got stars, but it's a pretty balanced effort, which is kind of cool too.
But, also, did you guys know that Luka got traded to the Lakers?
Yeah. Well, that, as you guys know from our text, that was kind of the impetus for my thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple aspects of fandom, and what's interesting is, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if we've actually really talked about this on the pod before. And we've done a whole bunch of episodes. We talked about a lot of shit, but I don't know that we've talked about this. And I do think it's actually kind of interesting. So let's go to the Luka thing, since Kyle brought that up. So for those like me who are not huge NBA fans, but are just kind of sports fans in general, Luka Doncic just got traded to the Lakers from the Dallas Mavericks. And he is, what is he, 25, Kyle?
25, 26.
Yeah. So essentially, he is a generational talent. He's a superstar at that age. Yeah. And it's one of the most shocking trades in NBA history, and really, I think, in major sports history. People were like losing their minds about this, right? And one of the things that I was thinking about, and somebody talked about this, it might have been on the Simmons podcast, actually, Kyle. Somebody mentioned about how, and I don't know about this because I don't follow the Premier League, but for like in soccer, in professional soccer, a lot of times fans will sort of just like follow their favorite player, right? But obviously, of course, we know here that people follow their teams. And I've talked to my partner about this. She does not understand being a sports fan. Like she loves tennis and she likes watching sports where it's like an individual person you root for. But for her, the fact that we are such like diehard Yankee fans and that our mood can be like genuinely affected by the success or the failure of the Yankees, it's unfathomable to her, right? Like it truly is. And she sees it as just this like weird, like archaic fucking tribalism, right? It just makes no sense to her. And it's like, if your favorite player starts to play for a different team, you're still going to be a Yankees fan? Like it just doesn't make any sense to her, right? So anyways, so this Luka trade is a great example. And of course, we thought of the Mookie Betts trade as being kind of an analog in baseball. It's an interesting thing because other than just geographical kind of proximity and the ability to go to games, like if I was a Mavs fan, why would I not become a Lakers fan and just be a Luka fan? I mean, and I would be so upset and devastated at the Mavericks leadership letting him go. Now, yeah, okay, if I live in the Dallas area, it makes sense to be a Mavs fan, maybe in the sense that I can just go to more of their games just because, again, of the realistic possibilities of living there. And whereas it makes less sense to be a Lakers fan because I'm just not going to have very many opportunities to see them in person. But how much do we actually care about seeing games in person versus watching on TV? Nowadays, you can watch anything on TV with the right plan. So the question, or one of the questions, right, is why are we so devoted to this idea of our fandom being team first as opposed to player first, and I was thinking for our sake right now to give us like a hypothetical in 2025, obviously this would never happen, but imagine it would, if Aaron Judge got traded, like obviously we are in our mid 30s and our whole lives have just been as Yankee fans, and it's unthinkable to be a fan of another team, but like, why would we not want to become a fan of the team that Aaron Judge was on. I don't know. It seems like it's one of those things where we are just brought up this way. It's like a societal thing, and we've just accepted it. And I guess I'm just kind of questioning whether it's actually the best way to be a fan and to kind of consume sports. I don't know.
Civic pride.
What'd you say, Matt? Oh, civic pride.
No.
Civic pride. So sure, that's part of it. And I think that absolutely made sense, especially like in our parents' generation, where you couldn't watch that many games and on TV. You could just see like national games occasionally, maybe your local team, and you could go to your local team's game ideally. But nowadays, I wonder if the accessibility of things maybe should change it a little bit. I don't know.
So I feel like my fandom kind of covers a number of different bases, right? So I'm a Yankees fan because my grandpa was a Yankees fan, and I remember sitting around the radio listening to the broadcast when I was 4 or 5 years old with him, and him hanging with him and listening to the team, right? And then going to my first game with my uncle and my dad and my grandpa, right? Like that's like that's a inside out core memory, and that's no matter what, it's
Shout
my
out
grandpa.
Inside Out, one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, it's not Judge, it's not Paul, it's not Jeter, it's not Pettit, it's not CC, it's my grandpa. That's why. Now on the flip side, I became a Packers fan because on the video game that I play with my brother, I like the green team. Like that's it, and then they happen to be good. And Burt Favre, won a Super Bowl, and it was the team I liked, and they're sponsored by cheese, right? Like, oh, cool. Like that is completely nonsensical, right? I liked the team when they happen to be good. I liked because they were green. I liked the Bulls growing up because everyone liked the Bulls and everyone liked Michael Jordan, right? That was a player-centric fandom there. I loved Michael Jordan. Like, I didn't watch a lot of basketball. We didn't really care a lot about basketball. I watched more college basketball growing up than I did NBA basketball. But I liked the Bulls. They were good. And then I can't really say anything about hockey. I think at one point I liked the Devils, and it's because that was the team I'd play on the video game system we had. So, like video game fandom, I don't know. So, like, a little bit all over. There's deep core memory fandom. I like the green team fandom. There's player fandom there for me. It's kind of all over. But also your point, I do like cheering on. I like getting caught up in the local fervor, right? Like,
yeah, it's kind of fun.
It was phenomenal being in Cleveland to see the Cavs win. Like, that was great. That was amazing. Like, that city needed that so much. And compared to Philadelphia, that, is tearing down light poles and setting things on fire and destroying the city because they won. The Cavs parade is considered one of the highest attended victory parades, and all the accounts that I've ever read, plus I'd say 24 accounts of people I know down there, was just such a spirit of pride and happiness and camaraderie, and people helping people, and J.R. Smith without a shirt, and like mobs and mobs. Like, it was just like a wonderful, wonderful day. So I do enjoy that. I mean, I can't say I rooted for the Browns, but I kept an active interest in the Browns, right? I told you guys I had gone to like 13 Browns games and never seen them win. And I'm never gonna root for the Phillies over the Yankees, but like, as the Phillies and Eagles go, the city goes. So I'm happy to see people in the city happy. Philly's a little crazier than I'd say Cleveland, and Cleveland's pretty fanatical.
So this is touching on something, Matt, and before you answer, Carl, Matt, that I want to kind of just mention, because I also talked about this on our text thread, brought it up, right? And this is the other aspect of the fandom kind of question that I'm really fascinated by, right? So you're talking about like Cleveland and Philly and everything. And what's interesting, we've joked on the pod often about how, at least Colin and I, how Cleveland Matt is one of our favorite Matts. And, you lived there for 10 years and you love that city. I mean, you are like a real ambassador of Cleveland, and right, and I had a great experience there with you, and I have like a fond idea of Cleveland largely because of you. You know what I mean? Like, Cleveland, outside, like in the rest of the world, still has kind of a mixed reputation, right? When people
still
hear
has a
about
mistake by the
Cleveland,
lake, yeah.
yeah, like a lot of people have this kind of thought of Cleveland as being this, almost like Syracuse, just bigger, but just this like shitty kind of has-been city with a lot of crime or whatever and pollution. But I know you lived there for 10 years and had these great experiences, and I had a great time with you, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, you were there for 10 years, and even though you took an interest in these teams, you never truly became a fan. Now, part of what I wonder is, obviously you ended up moving away. If you had stayed, right, and you had like had kids and raised a family, who knows what would have happened. And I'm curious with Philly, right? I mean, you've been in the Philly area now for what, 4 years?
4.5, not 4. You're right. You're almost exactly 4.
Okay. So in the case of Philly, it'll be interesting to see, right? But if you end up staying long term, right? And if you end up having a family there, whatever, I'm really curious. Like, it's fascinating to me, and of course, Kyle's a good example of this too, because he's been in Charlotte now since what, 2018, Kyle?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, is there a line in terms of the timing that might make somebody become a fan of the new place where they live? It's like, oh, I've been here for a long time, I should adopt this as one of my teams. Or is it like dependent on kids? Because like, Kyle, I feel like there's a decent chance that Stella and Arya might be fans of the well, I guess, you know what, from you, they're going to end up being Yankee and Penn State and Lakers fans no matter what. They won't be able to help
Colin was
it.
playing, recordings of Yankees games for them when they were infants.
But you know what? Just from going to school and being surrounded by other people growing up here who are probably Carolina fans, I wonder if they'll also be fans of those teams. It's just really fascinating to me, like the connections that we do or do not make based on a place we live in for how long it is. And like, especially Matt being in Cleveland for 10 years and like, who knows how long with Philly, Kyle with Charlotte. I don't know how long I'm going to be in Colorado, but I've thought about it for myself too. I'm like, should the Rockies be my official NL team? What if I move in 2 years? What if I stay here for 40 years? Oh, the Rockies are so fucking shitty right now. These kind of things. So I just think it's kind of a fun thing to think about.
I like your analysis, but I also think there's one more variable, and it's the ethos of the city and the ethos of the team and the ethos of the fans. Meaning, like, Cleveland, no matter what the sport, the fan base was endearing.
Yeah.
Right. Like it was all right. Like, we're gonna come back. We got it. No matter. And like, you look at the Browns, and it's like, no, I'm sorry. Like it's just gonna be comically bad for the near future. But like, everyone's still like, yeah, we're gonna do it. Like, yeah. And then like, even like, but not such homers that like, oh, like, I also have a lot of friends who are Browns fans that said screw the Browns and stop being fans for Deshaun Watson. Right. Like so they have it. It's a very endearing, very like underdog but hopeful and positive fan base, I'd say, versus like Philly, I'd say, is a much more hostile and entitled fan base.
Yeah.
Trey Turner standing ovation aside, right? That was pretty cool. But like,
that was cool.
Like, it's just such a much more hostile, and like, I remember my brother warning me, like, just listen, just if you want, find Philadelphia sports radio on the internet one of these days. It's I don't want to say disgusting, but it's disheartening to listen to. Like, it's getting to the point, and I'm sorry, Colin, you're not one of these people, but it's getting to the point of like the rabid college footballness of just like, give it a break, like, and stop being so damn entitled. And like I mean, Howie, I'm forgetting his last name, the GM of the Phillies, or excuse me, of the Eagles, having to like basically scream at the fans and like fuck you guys, I got this last year, after he was getting criticized and screamed at. And like, he's doing a phenomenal job. He seems to be hitting on every level of his like I read an article the other day talking about, like, compared to a lot of other GMs in the NFL, like, he seems to have a very good hit rate, and he's doing a very good job, and he's onto something. And like, he still gets screamed at by his fans, and he still had to combatively turn around and yell at people in the stands when he was on the sidelines earlier this year and last year. Like, so there's a difference there. There's the entitlement, and I'm sorry, Philly fans, there's the pelting Santa with snowballs, attitude here, which I can't see myself identifying with the city. Like, if the Yankees are out, and and if it comes down to Eagles, Chiefs, or Phillies versus Red Sox, right, I'm always going to root for the Phillies and the Eagles, but like I can't say that's a fan by convenience, not a fan by proximity.
We should have cousin Greg come on to try to defend Philly fandom if he wants to. Give him an opportunity.
There are always good ones, and I'd say he's a good Phillies fan, right? But like I'm telling you, listen to Philly sports radio. It's hard. It's tough.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, short answer is like there is no wrong way or right way to
eat a Reese's.
Be a fan. Like you can like individual players, you can like teams, you can like individual players on team sports or an individual sports. Like that's just sports.
Yeah, does it bring you joy? Period.
Yeah,
sure.
You know, like that's the short answer. The longer answer is definitely more interesting. You touched on everything. I think I definitely have some outside of the location experiences. I have two unique experiences. I fell in love with A-Rod before he was a Yankee, and that amplified my fandom, of course, when he came to the Yankees. But I loved Alex.
Yeah, I remember that.
From a very young age, and I was over. We had just got. I'll never forget. We had just gotten to California. It was like Valentine's Day of 2004. So right before my birthday, and Timmy, my youngest brother Timmy, 7 years younger than me, and so in 2004 we're 15. So he is 8, and he comes into the other room in the hotel that we're staying in. He's like, A-Rod just got traded to the Yankees. And I was like, what? Like, we just got off of 4.5 hour plane ride. Like, you're 8 years old, you don't know what you're gonna see, whatever on the TV. And I mean, it was just amazing. And I don't think, given how long he was on the Yankees and knowing that he was toward the end of his career anyway, regardless, like if he had signed with the Marlins or whoever to try to pick up, some of those homers to get to those last 4 homers to get to 700, it's not like I would have been a Marlins fan, or something like that. Like I would have been an A-Rod fan. And that's kind of how I feel about Barkley, where he was on my favorite team from college through the pros in his first 6 seasons, and now he's moved on to a team that I really disliked growing up, especially when I was more into the NFL, and now I found myself rooting for him, not rooting for the Eagles, but rooting for him in the Super Bowl, and just being so happy, and I will follow his career wherever it goes. But I'm not going to become a fan of the Eagles. I'm not going to become a fan of any other team that he might end up playing for. I'm just going to be a Saquon Barkley fan. So I think there are, but those are like even Aaron Judge doesn't hit that level for me. Like A-Rod and Saquon and Kobe and Knobloch, like they're my Mount Rushmore. I think about this all the time. I'd be shocked if anyone, just because of like where I am in life now and the way I view sports versus how I used to view them and everything, like I'd be shocked if anyone gets on the Mount Rushmore for the remainder of my life. I love Aaron Judge, but he just doesn't. If he had gone to the Giants, I wasn't going to become a Giants fan, and I wasn't going to feel as indifferent about it as I was about the whole Soto thing, because Soto was only there for 1 year. But I also wasn't going to be crushed by it. I wasn't even crushed when Barkley left, and everything. And so I don't know. It's weird. We could talk about it all night, but I just thought those were interesting pieces to add to the conversation.
If I could, then I would. I'll go wherever you will go. That's Colin's fandom right there. Way up high or down low, I'll go wherever you may go.
That's really
My
good.
neighbor's gotta hate me. Sam's gotta bring
That's
what the hell
a
I'm
great
doing.
song. Great song.
Listen to those pipes and the
cover,
beer
too.
bottle mic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really good.
Whole bottle, 7%. I'm a little buzzed.
Love it.
Yep.
Well, boys, we
did it.
We did another episode, and we did it on time, and we went a little long too. I think the people should be happy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Free baseball.
That's right.
Free baseball.
So yeah, what are we gonna do in this chasm of sportlessness? Like, yeah, okay, the NBA and the NHL, who cares? Like, I didn't even I was looking at March college basketball rankings today, and I was like, I don't know anything that's going on now. I think a combination of not being invested and Syracuse being bad and the transfer portal has just made me not care about college basketball anymore. I've looked at the Syracuse lacrosse website more than I've looked at the Syracuse basketball website this year. Syracuse lacrosse, number 2 in the nation. Woo! But
I'm sure there'll be some storylines that
something will come up in the next 2 weeks.
Cooper Flag.
There'll be injuries for sure in spring training.
That
will.
There already are a couple. Cousins got a strained forearm, and someone else has a shoulder issue that.
We're 2 days in. How does that even happen?
They arrived with those. They're working through them right now. So
okay.
And when that Molly Knight story drops, that'll probably have some juicy shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So come back, listen to the podcast.
That's right.
Listen to us.
Mm-hmm.
What shout outs you got?
I got one. I often struggle to come up with a shout out, but just talking about fandom and individual players that we are fans of. Kyle remembers this very well. One of the few in my life who I was a big fan of, who was not a Yankee, was Barry Zito, circa 2002. Go find some videos of 2002 Barry Zito with the Athletics. That curveball was a fucking work of art. One of the great pitches. Just a chef's kiss of a pitch. I mean, my God. And I was a pitcher, of course, and as you guys know, I always love pitchers to this day. And I remember seeing that curveball on Sports Center and shit, and just being like, oh my God, this guy's awesome. And there were stories about him. He had long hair, and he was kind of a goofy, eccentric hippie and shit like this. And I was like, this guy seems kind of cool, So shout out to Barry Zito.
Oh, Barry Zito. Okay. Shout out to the Philadelphia public workers that had to pick up and re-erect traffic lights.
Ugh.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Yes, because that is, we won. Let's steal light poles. They unbolted them and carried. What are you gonna do with that? Why? And then in the middle of the whole thing, there's six guys just riding horses. I don't know what's going on. But shout out to the public works employees of the city of Philadelphia. You're halfway there. Hopefully they don't start looting during the parade this Friday like they did last time during the parade. And for all those Philadelphia fans out there, be safe if you're going to the parade, please. Have fun. Be safe. Is the parade? It's Valentine's Day in the city of brotherly love. Please, 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 please.
Nothing could go wrong.
Yeah, Friday too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're asking for it.
Yeah, well, there's supposed to be some sleet coming through tonight and tomorrow. So,
right.
It sounds like there's a new pocket of warm moisture coming from the Gulf of America. The Gulf of Gulf of Mexico.
Yes,
is fueling some warm air that's hitting the cold air mass from Canada. And of course, this is our third straight storm this week, and I just so they chose Friday. So.
All right, fair enough. Shout out to my mama. Happy retirement.
Yay.
Yeah. And as usual, we are.
No.